All right. Hello, the four people that are watching right now. We definitely have to wait for some more people to arrive. So we'll chill until we got some more people tuning in. All right. Hello, good afternoon, Camilla, Chris, and Mac. Good to have you join us. Let's wait patiently for the rest of the class to show up. Hello, John. Good to have you join us. All right. So basically, we're still waiting for seven people, or seven more people at least, to arrive. So what's gonna happen is that we're just gonna basically go over the uh, the homework from yesterday. We're gonna go over the lesson, and then at the end of the lesson, we're gonna talk about what I have planned for the test because I do have something prepared, or I have an idea of how I want to do it. We're still only at 5. All right, I'm gonna give it until 110. I'm gonna give it until 110. Thank you so much for waiting patiently, guys. I'm gonna give it until 110 to see if anyone else shows up. If not, we're just gonna get started right away. We're at 6 now, so we're still waiting on a couple more. Yeah, we were at 7 and then they disappeared. Hello, John Puerto. Good to have you join us. We're just waiting until 110, just one more minute, and then we're gonna get started. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the page you should have open here is this one. This was our homework that you had to do. Hopefully you did it. Please tell me you did your homework. So this was the homework you were supposed to do. So let's take up each and every one of these, drawing the line of best fit and stating the trend for each one. Okay. So, first one. these 2 points I want to point out are not part of the general trend. They don't follow the trend. So you can actually ignore them. Once again, we call those points outliers. We don't include them. So we're just going to draw a line of best fit on our case here, like this, and that would be a line that is closest to as many points as possible. And then once we have that line, let's state, is it positive or negative? So this one would be negative. Strong or weak, it'd be strong. And then linear, non-linear, we drew a line, so it would be linear. Okay, so we're making sure we understand what's going on here. For number 2, we would not draw a line of best fit. This one here would be a curve of best fit, right? Maybe something like this. I didn't draw it perfectly, but you should have a curve that's going up. And if we were to describe it, that would be positive, right? Strong, and non-linear. Okay, so we have those there. For number 3, same idea. This would not be a line, rather more of a curve that I see, right? And it would be the same trend as before. Positive, strong, non-linear. Okay. For number 4, if I were to draw a line that goes through as many points as possible, there's our line. Okay. So that's my line of best fit. And if we were to describe it, it'd be positive, strong, and linear. Okay. Our next one here. This one's a little odd, but I would say these 3 points are outliers. They're kind of way far away. So I would rather say that this is the more important line here, and these 3 points are outliers. Okay? Yes, linear means straight line. That's what linear means. So yes, straight, it's linear. Anything that's not straight is non-linear. Good question, Chris. So this one here would be positive, strong, and linear. Okay. The next one, there's your line of best fit. And this would be negative because it's going down, strong, linear. Okay. So we have that there. Let's keep going. This one here, this one I usually get both mixed responses, so I would take a curve or a line. Okay. If you drew the line, I would expect you to draw a line like this. If you drew a curve, I would expect you to draw it like this. Okay? So the green is the line and the purple is the curve. Okay? So if you did it in green, you would say that this is positive, weak, and linear. If you did the purple curve, you can't really say much else, but if you were to get a guess, it would be more positive, right? Because it's generally going up. It would still be weak, but it would be non-linear. Okay, so it depends on what you see the trend is. The points are all spaced out, so it's very weak, but it depends whether you call it linear or non-linear. That would be up to you. Okay, this one here, definitely just a straight line like that, and that would be negative, weak, and linear. And the last one here, a line going like that. Maybe a little lower would have been a little better, but this would be linear, positive, and weak, because it seems to spread out at the end there. Okay, so those are your answers for all of your questions for your homework that I assigned, right? Just the trends. Please get practice with graphing here these as well, okay? Because this will be on your final test assignment that I will be giving out on Thursday. Okay, so you should have printed out the last 2 pages. It should look like this. Okay, it's called graphing linear relations. So let's figure out so what we have to do here. So let's record the number of tiles in each frame, describe any trends, and then let's graph the data. Okay, so frame number is just going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and number of tiles we're going to count. So we're going to go, that's 1 square, so it's 1. For this one, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. For this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we have to figure out the next 3. So if we look at our pattern here, we're saying, oh, we're adding 4 every time, which means this next one would be 13, then 17, and then 21. Okay? So we got to make sure we have the correct values for the number of squares, right? You should see a pattern. You're saying, oh, it's increasing by 4, so it must increase by 4 continuously. Okay? So let's graph it. We have our frame number and the number of tiles in a frame already. Okay? So if we space out our frame numbers like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Zeros at the corner, and if we want to fit up to 21 here, let's go up by 2s. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. Okay, so we have all of that there, and now we can plot our points. So 1, 1, so 1 on frame number and then 1 on number of tiles. So there's our first point. 2, 5, 2 and 5, 3, 9, 4, 13, 5, 17, and 6, 21. So there are the points for our graph. Okay? Now you should notice something with this. What do you notice about this graph? You can type it in the chat. What do you notice? What's special about this graph here? What is so special about this graph? It's equally spaced out. All right. What else? That's a start. Very good, Russell. Spot on linear. That's very good. It's perfectly linear. If I draw my line of best fit, look how perfect that looks. The line goes straight through all of the points. It's perfectly linear, right? It's not, oh yeah, it makes the line of best fit. No, this is exactly linear. Okay? So is there a relationship between the two quantities? Yes, absolutely. Right? There's a relationship. There's clearly a connection because we can see our line of best fit, right? And then it asks us, is it linear? And if it's linear, the points form a straight line. And yes, it is linear. Okay? But notice how, okay, we say it's a linear relationship, not just a linear trend. A trend is kind of like a general pattern that we see. Well, a linear relationship is we're literally saying this is perfectly linear. right? It increases by the same amount every time. It's equally spaced out. There's no changes randomly in the middle. It's perfect, right? That's perfectly linear. So that's a linear relationship. So yes. Okay. So the last question is, how can we use the graph to determine the number of tiles in a frame when you know the frame number, right? So how can we use the graph? We can extend the line of best fit to find the other frame. Okay? Because this is perfectly linear, we've talked about using our line of best fit to guess, to estimate what could the value be if we don't have it. But the difference here is that because it's perfectly linear, if I were to guess, oh, what's on frame number 7, if we extend the line, we get our answer perfectly because it's linear, right? It's perfectly linear. It's an exact linear relationship. We know exactly what the next number is going to be. We're not guessing, right? We know 100% that that's going to be the next point. And it's true. That would be 25, which would be correct. Okay? So we would extend the line to find the other frames. Okay? So this is our introduction as we move on into unit 4, right? About linear relationship. What makes something linear? So let's look deeper into this. Okay, let's look deeper into our linear relations here. So let's write a rule. Right? Let's write a rule. So if it's linear, there should be a rule that it follows, a set pattern that it goes up by every time, right? So if we were to set a rule, what would the rule be? Right? Well, we have the number of frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for us on frame 1, it was 1 square. Okay. On frame 2, it was 5 squares. On frame 3, it was 9 squares. So what would be a rule to determine that? Any ideas what the rule might be? It would be add 4 every frame. Yeah, increase by the same amount. This would be my equation, but essentially we're saying add 4 every frame starting at 1 square. Okay, so this would be the equation for that, but we're essentially saying on frame 2 you add 4, on frame you add another 4, on frame 4 you add another 4, on frame 5 you add another 4. And because we start at 1, we have this n minus 1 because n is the number of frames. So if we try to solve, 15th, 22nd, and 11th frame, we should be able to figure that out. Okay? But that's for another time. So we're actually going to ignore this question. Okay? Let's actually do this down here. So this will be your test on whether or not you understand how to do this here. Okay, so a large bucket contains 20 liters of water. The water is leaking out of the bucket at 0.5 liters per hour. So let's create the table of values. Okay, so at 0 hours, let's say it didn't leak yet. then we have a total of 20 liters, which means after 1 hour, how much does it go down by? It goes down by 1.5 liters. So 20 minus 1.5 would give us 18.5. And then if we keep going at 2 hours, subtracting another 1.5 would give me 17. What I want you to do, can you finish filling out this table here and then graph it on this graph here? Okay, so let me zoom out so we can see better. Okay, so please finish filling in this table, graph it here. I will give you a total of 10 minutes. We're going to take it up, and that will be the class today. So let's make sure you have this practice with graphing. Can you create the chart, and can you graph it? Make sure you have your title, your axis titles, proper scales. Do not use any breaks. Okay? So, that being said, good luck. I'll give you 10 minutes, and I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Whoa! Guilty.
All right. So, hopefully you guys have completed it. Graphing it 10 minutes was a lot of time. Let's finish out filling our table first. So, the fast way to do it is just kind of write down all of the hours first, like that. And then we go down. So keep going. And so you should get until this point here. So this should be your table of values here. If I were to create my titles for this graph, it would be amount of water versus number of hours. Okay, something like that for my title. For over here, it would be the amount of water in the bucket. I don't really have space here because I'm going to write pretty big, so I'm not going to write anything here, but it should be amount of water in the bucket because we should know that this is XY. So down here should be number of hours. Okay, so we start from 0 going across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, and then once we have that down, we can go up here. So we need to go at least up to 20, right? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. We'll go up to 22 there. Okay, so that would be the best way to space it out. So let's start graphing. So 0, 20 is my first point up here. 1, 18.5 will be somewhere around here. 2, 17. 3, 15.5. 4, 14. 5, 12.5. 6, 11. 7, 9.5. 8, 8. 9, 6.5. There. 10, 5. 11, 3.5. 12, 2. And then 13, 0.5. And if I were to draw my line of best fit to finish this off, you'll notice if I line up my ruler, that looks like a pretty perfectly straight line. Okay. So there we have it. And that point should be right there. Okay. Perfect. So this is what your graph should look like. Of course, we were just missing their title here, and that would be 7 marks. Okay, total of 7 marks. So let's answer the other questions. So we have our graph here. We're done. So our first question here is this a linear relation? Right? Is this a linear relation? Justify your answer. Yes, because the water goes down by the same amount every time. Okay, and Rose said positive, strong, linear for the trend. Russell said negative. This would be negative. It's going down. So reading it from left to right, it would be negative, strong, and linear. Absolutely. That would be the words to describe the trend. Very good. So then for C, describe the write a rule. We're going to cancel that out. We're not going to use that rule. But then it asks you, at this rate, when will the bucket be empty? So if we look at our thing here, it will probably be empty right after 13 hours. So it will be empty a little after 13 hours. Okay? And there we have it. Okay? So if you did this fully, right, with graphing, and you got the graph correctly, you drew it out correctly, you drew all the scales in the title, then you should be fine for the test assignment that is coming out tomorrow. So let me explain. Okay. Tomorrow will be office hours. I'm going to be setting it as a review office hour session. If you have any questions or you weren't understanding or you want me to go over a certain page again on a workbook, you come to my office hours tomorrow at 1 p.m. and I'll go over that with you and whoever else is here. If no one else is here, I'm just gonna end the stream early, and that's that. If there's no questions or anything like that, it'll be a very short class. But please come out if you have any questions. On Thursday, there's gonna be like a 5 to 10 minute video stream. Essentially, it's just me giving you instructions on how to complete your work on the test assignment. In other words, it's going to be some practice. It's going to be like a practice test / review assignment. And that's going to be given to you on Google Classroom. You're going to print out the sheets, or you're going to just do the problems on a piece of paper. And then same thing like your quiz, you're going to take pictures, and then you're going to upload it and hand it in. And the due date will be on Monday. So you're going to have 5 full days to work on it. Okay? When do we see our quiz marks from last week? You will get your quiz marks by Wednesday. So tomorrow, by the end of the day, you should have your quiz marks, because I want to give those out to you before you start on your test assignment. Okay? So that being said, that is it for this week. All right? Or sorry, not this week. Today. And then this week, I've given you the timeline for what you should be expecting. So, have a good day, everyone. Make sure you still practice, read over your workbooks, all right? And have a good rest of the day. Otherwise, peace out.